8 weak behaviors that repel women. Number 1, when you ask her to go 50-50 with you, whether it's on a first date, you've taken her out to a cafe, a dessert place, a restaurant, and the bill comes at the end, and you tell the waiter, "Can you give us a second, please? I'm going to pay 17.5, you pay." That is absolutely pathetic, gentlemen. It is. What it showcases is that you are not operating in your true masculine frame. A real man pays for the entire bill. Why? Because it was his idea to take this girl out. You were intentional enough to say, "Hey, I'm going to pick you up at this time and we're going to go somewhere." It was your idea. And you pay for the bill. Even if you felt like the date didn't go quite as planned, you didn't feel that chemistry, that spark, you still pay the bill, thank her for her time, and wish her good luck. You do not sit there calculating how much you're going to pay and how much she's going to pay. It's pathetic. And some guys operate this way even with a girl they do like. They have the mindset that, well, since she's in this relationship with me, we both have to pay. We both have to contribute. Men and women contribute to a relationship in different ways. You are the protector and the provider. She contributes her femininity. Right? She makes a house a home. She births your children. She nurtures your children. When you ask a woman to step into the masculine and you ask her to start paying for things for you and taking care of this for you financially, and what you end up doing is creating like a roommate dynamic where she now starts to feel like your roommate rather than your lady. Now, if you're not in a financial position to stomach a $50 bill, then you're not ready to start meeting women. You're not. If losing $50, which, by the way, I never see a date, even if it doesn't go to plan, as a loss. Because I still ate good food at a good establishment. I still had a good time. And I'm sure that there were things about this person that I also liked. So even though I didn't see that there was going to be a second date in my mind, I didn't feel that spark, I still enjoyed my time. Yeah, and this is why I always advise you guys, when you go out with a woman on a first date, pick a place that you would want to go to, even if you weren't meeting this woman. Be like, "Hey, there's a great spot that I know. I'd love to take you there." Right? And then go there and have a good time yourself. Order what you would normally order for yourself. And if you're sat there sweating because she's looking at the menu, then you're not ready, man. You're not. Get your priorities in order. Yes, every single person should have the opportunity to, find their life companion. But if you're not financially in a position where you could take a woman to a nice place, then you can't sustain regular encounters with this woman. You can't. You're going to be worried every time. "Oh, I don't have enough money," and she wants to go out. Yes, a good woman won't really care about necessarily how high-end the place is. I'm not telling you to take her out to McDonald's and tell her to put on a dress, right? She's going to be very furious if you tell her that. A good woman will be like, "Yeah, we can have a picnic. I don't mind." But it's still not advisable to start dating women, in my opinion, if you're financially not in a good spot. Now, it goes beyond just paying for a bill at a date. Going 50-50 with a woman when you're renting a place is also not a good idea, in my opinion, because what it does, once again, is it creates that roommate dynamic. The sexual chemistry is gone. Women want to feel like little girls when they're around you, like they don't have to worry about things. Payments, bills, fines, whatever it is, right? They don't want to have to worry about things like that. Now, if you're paying for everything and you're noticing that she's very ungrateful and, and she's acting completely in a disrespectful manner, then of course you shouldn't be with this person anyways, right? So I'm not saying pay for everything and tolerate BS, no. But you should have the mindset that I'm going to pay for everything anyways. She comes into your world, gentlemen. If you're a man right now that lives by himself, you're already paying for everything. So it's not like you're now suddenly doubling your rent. No, you may just be paying more for food because there's another person living with you now. You know, you might pay for more toilet paper and more, normal stuff around the house. But you're already paying for the entire apartment yourself, or the entire house yourself. So you shouldn't be extremely anxious about the idea of her living with you. So when you start saying things like, well, you pay her, it completely disrupts the sexual dynamic. Yes, some people have done it, and maybe some of you right now, you're in a dynamic right now where your partner pays half. If you can avoid that, is what I'm going to say, as much as you can. See her reaction when you tell her, baby, next month you don't have to pay. Going forward, you don't have to pay for the rent or your share of the rent. Daddy's got it. And I know that may sound corny, but what that does is your regard in her eyes just shoots right up. She now genuinely sees you as more masculine. Because let's face it, guys, we say that because we operate with a scarcity mindset. We're worried about money. If you were making $20,000 a month, let's just say it right now, would you still ask your girlfriend to pay half? Or your wife to pay half? Be honest. In most cases, you wouldn't. Because you're like, well, I'm making more than enough, right? I can pay for it myself. So it's not necessarily that, that you believe, yeah, well, I don't want to get done over. No, it's the fact that you're worried about money. That's what it is. So make more money, okay? So that's point number one. Point number two, the next weak behavior is talking about your issues with your woman. Now, I know this one's a bit of a controversial one. Men go through a lot of difficulties in life. And there are certain difficulties that will really overburden your spouse. And it is advisable to not open up about these things to her, because she won't know how to help you. She will say things like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. She may give you a kiss on the forehead and hold you close to her chest, which feels lovely in the moment. And you feel like a little boy who's been embraced by mummy, right? But remember, your lover is not your mother. I'm going to say that again. Your lover is not your mother. The only woman you can completely open up to and cry in front of if you want to, and have no real consequence to deal with after that is your own mother. But your sexual partner should not feel like she's your mother. Okay? Mike Tyson once had a quote. He said, we look for our mothers in our lovers, but our lovers can never love us like our mothers. And that is absolutely true. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Your lover should not love you like your mother. It's a completely different dynamic. And when you're constantly, complaining or even crying, I mean, that is a real problem when you start crying in front of your woman. I mean, unless something extremely devastating has happened, which is completely justifiable, such as you've lost one of your parents or a very close friend, or, something severe, which will traumatize just about any person. That's completely acceptable. I don't want you to act like some fake alpha male and try and suppress that shit. No. But if you're crying about day-to-day shit, what happened at work, or, I just feel sad recently, and, you don't know how to explain how you feel, and you're just crying in front of a big problem right there. Because after the first 2 or 3 times where she holds you and embraces you, she's going to start looking at you differently. Like, can I trust this man to lead me? I'm seeing cracks in his armor. He's not the strong, masculine man that I thought he was. I'm having to step in and console him on a regular basis. right? It's not a good idea. Cracks will begin to appear in your relationship. The sexual chemistry will start to dissolve, right? If your lover starts acting like your mother, she won't want to fuck you, right? If she sees you as like her son, she ain't going to want to fuck you, right? She needs to look at you like, he's my man. He can handle anything life throws at him. And look, even if you're just crumbling on the inside, put on a front that everything's under control, baby. I know this may sound so, how can I put it, misogynistic to some of the women that may be watching this. But our reality as men is completely different to your reality as women. Men will not look at a woman in a different way if she cries in front of them. They won't look at her like, ugh, I've lost sexual attraction for her. No, we understand that women are more emotionally, how can I put it? They're more emotionally vulnerable, right? They're susceptible, should I say, to changes in their mood, right? Whereas men, we're the lighthouse figure. We're supposed to stay there as a calming figure in our woman's life. If there's something, gentlemen, that's truly troubling you, speak to a strong masculine model in your life, a role model in your life, right? Maybe it's your father, uncle, a great friend of yours, somebody from work that you really trust. Get it off your chest. Okay, speak to that person, because that person will not judge you and will not lose respect for you in a way that your woman will if you're constantly complaining to her. And by the way, you shouldn't constantly complain to another man either, because even after a while, they'll be like, come on, bro, get it together, get your act together. But if there's something that's genuinely troubling you, speak to a strong masculine role model in your life or someone that you can trust. Okay, a coach, your jiu-jitsu coach, a gym personal trainer, whatever it may be, right? The next weak behavior, point number 3, is when you show insecurity about another man liking your woman. Now look, when I say insecurity, what I mean is when you feel threatened by another man. No man should feel comfortable approaching your woman. And there's something in my faith in Islam called ghira. You're supposed to be protective about your woman. Absolutely, you should be. This refers to more when you're starting to get to know a girl, when you're in the early stages of dating, and maybe she mentions a guy to try and see your reaction. If you lose your head and you're like, oh no, who is this guy? And you get really visibly frustrated, then she's got you under her thumb. She can just continue playing that card with you to get you emotional, right? You should not feel threatened by another man. You should know that you are the real deal. Of course I'm the fucking real deal. She's sat here with me right now. If she really liked that guy, she'd be sat with him. But she's here. Actions speak louder than words. She's right here in front of me. So you shouldn't feel threatened by her words or her attempts at making you feel insecure. Now, if she's your girlfriend or wife and another man thinks he can just approach her and do whatever he wants, then of course, in that position, you get involved, right? You shouldn't just allow someone to come and flirt in front of your woman and feel comfortable doing it. I see all these street interviews, right? Where the interviewer will like flirt with the lady, like the interviewer will be interviewing a couple and maybe he'll say something to the lady that's flirtatious and the guy's just sat there like a little chump, like a little idiot, like a little cuck. I don't believe in that whatsoever. You take your woman somewhere else. You don't start swinging straight away, but if somebody feels comfortable enough putting his hand on your woman, you got to get involved. You can't be a little coward, a little weasel, right? But this refers to more so when you're just starting to get to know a girl and she tries to make you feel insecure by bringing up guys, or maybe she'll bring up an ex or something. Now, in my opinion, if she starts bringing up exes to try and make me feel jealous, I'm clocked out. I just completely lose whatever respect I had for her because I don't play games like that, right? You're not going to just sit here mentioning all the guys you've been with and expect me to sit here and feel inferior to them. Nah, I just see it as a childish thing to do, and that's not the kind of woman I want to be with myself, right? Number 4, the next weak behavior is when you cancel plans with your boys to spend time with her continuously. Shall I put it in brackets? When you continuously cancel plan with your boys to be with her. The odd occasion, okay, fine, right? Maybe your lady really wants you there. There's something really important for it, of course. But when you're that guy that's constantly calling the boys, sorry guys, I can't come out, you know, the missus wants me, and you're constantly doing that, she will look at you after the first one. I mean, the first 1 or 2 times, it's adorable, it's cute, it's, oh, he's so special, he's sacrificing, you know, his enjoyment for me and hanging around with his boys. But after a while, she's going to think, what a loser. You know, he just eliminated his social life completely just to spend time with me. That's no longer romantic now. That's just straight up weird. And it communicates, I'm so scared of potentially going out with my boys and then you being upset with me and losing me or leaving me, that I don't want to risk it. That's what it communicates. Right? You're always cancelling plan with your boys. You're basically scared of having a social life in the fear that she may lose interest in you and leave you. You never cancel or eliminate your social life whatsoever. You have to have, gentlemen, an active social life, even when you're in a relationship. You have to. Look, the idea of a prosperous relationship is 2 people with 2 separate great lives, combining their lives together to make an even greater life for the both of them. Right? She shares her wonderful life with you, and you share your wonderful life with her. But if you had a great life prior to meeting her, great social life, you were doing all these things, going out with your friends, hitting the gym frequently, and then the moment she comes in, you just attach onto her like a fucking leech, and you never let go. After the first one, so as I mentioned, after the first 1 or 2 occasions where she's like, oh, that's so sweet, he's doing all that for me. After a while, she's like, get the fuck off. Ugh. She wants you to have a great social life. She wants you to live a life of abundance in every aspect. She doesn't want to be the focus of your life entirely. It's not attractive. They may say this, and this is why guys get fooled, right? They may say that I want a guy who's obsessed with me, clingy, whatever. Once they get that, it's weird. When women fantasize about a guy, they fantasize about being with a man who is doing a lot of things, is an important man, a man of status, a man of power, not a man that's sat at home in his SpongeBob SquarePants socks, doing nothing all week but spending time with her, nothing else. That's not attractive. It's not. Okay? The next weak behavior that men do that repels women is when they fail to make decisions or they're too indecisive. That's a problem. Even if it's something as simple as, babe, where should we go for dinner tonight? And you're like, I don't know, where do you want to go? And it's just a back and forth ping pong game of suggestions. She will just get frustrated. She doesn't want to have to think about these things all the time. Now, look, I'm not saying that you never allow her to decide where to go. But as a man, you need to be able to make a decision. You need to be able to make reservations, plans, and just say, hey, sweetheart, make sure you're ready by 7 o'clock. I'm taking you somewhere. That's attractive to them because they don't have to then worry about what is the table booked, where are we sat, this, that. No, she just has to get ready, look nice, and there you are, parked outside, ready to pick her up and ready to go. It's attractive, right? So it's important to be able to make decisions. And look, your failure to make decisions on the little things, like where to go to eat, will then affect your ability to make decisions in other areas. You know, you want to move to a different city with your partner, but you don't know where to move. Honey, where should we go? She wants you to have a fucking plan. Have an idea of what you want to do with your life, where you want to go. Right? You know, I see these guys with women that basically do everything for them, even at airports. The woman's the one with the passports. She's got the bag on her back. She's checking and the dad's just walking behind like a little chump. And I can just see that woman wears the pants. in the relationship, and she doesn't want to, by the way. She wants to be girly and feminine and not have to worry about these things. But unfortunately, her man has no fucking spine. He's a little loser that tags along behind her. And she has to then step in. Because what happens when a woman has to step into these roles? She's assuming the masculine. And she doesn't want to be in that position. And once or twice, okay. But when she's making all these decisions for the relationship, when she's making decisions for you and your career, she's going to think, this is exhausting. Because it is exhausting when you have to make important decisions on a regular basis. It's tiring. Of course it is, right? That's why people that run companies, CEOs, they're paid a lot of money. They're basically paid to make big executive decisions on things. Right? So make a decision. You don't have to have 100% confidence, by the way, in the decision itself. But make a decision. Because if you do not, you don't look good. You don't communicate masculinity. You communicate being a little child. When you're young and you're a young boy, mum and dad make the decisions for you, right? But when you're a grown man with a beard and you've got your own car and your own house and you can't make decisions on things, it's not a good look. It makes you look like a little boy who she has to take care of. She assumes that mother position, as I spoke about, right? The next weak behavior that men do, which repels women, is when they don't check her when she behaves badly. Now, by the way, I say that. What I mean is when you fail to enforce boundaries. If you're a man who fails to enforce boundaries in his relationship, you will get walked all over. And she will use you and abuse you. And then dump your ass. And you're left crying and confused, thinking, what happened? I thought she really loved me. No, she can't love you if she doesn't respect you. I'm going to say that again. A woman cannot love you, gentlemen, if she does not respect you. Are you somebody worthy of being respected? If she behaves rudely to you, do you let her know? Do you check her? Do you say, honey, that's unacceptable. You can't speak to me like this and expect me to be okay with it. And by the way, you can check her. You can enforce these boundaries in a gentlemanlike manner. You don't have to just start cursing and throwing things. If anything, that communicates that you're emotionally weak. If you start raising your voice and you start throwing things, it shows that you don't have a control over your temper, which is not a very masculine thing, right? If you're somebody who cries very quickly, you start shouting and throwing things, you're all over the place. That is not attractive, right? So you can definitely enforce boundaries in a respectable manner. But if you fail to speak up for yourself, she will think, I can keep doing this and I can keep getting what I want out of him until I completely lose any attraction for him. And then I leave him anyways. That's what will happen. She'll use you for a while. Maybe you're a little chump with no backbone, but you pay for everything and she knows she can get what she wants out of you financially. It'll just be like, okay, honey, right? And then eventually when she's done playing around with you, she'll go to an actual man, a real man, who she can then respect, right? Who checks her when she behaves badly. So for the sake of your damn relationship, you must be willing to create controversy and conflict, right? A lot of guys are afraid of conflict. They think, well, no, I don't want to have to argue, so let me just brush it under the carpet. Hopefully we'll forget about this and we'll move on from this. No. Whatever you fail to address magnifies. If there's an issue and it bothers you, speak up, for goodness sakes. Have a backbone. Tell her, listen, that was unacceptable. You can't speak to me this way. Let her know. And if that's a deal breaker for her, because she couldn't get what she wanted out of you, and you break up, good. Why should you be with somebody that makes you feel like shit? Right? And with disrespect, you have to check it immediately. You don't check it a year, 2, 3 years into a relationship. She's going to think, oh, now all of a sudden, Mr. Big Bollocks has boundaries. No, it has to happen very early on. Because in the early stages, she doesn't know what your boundaries are. So she will, what they call, shit test you. She will test your strength. And if she knows she can walk all over you, she'll exploit you. But she won't respect you. Okay? Number 7, the next weak behavior that repels women is when you're too nice. And I want to say nice, not just too nice, because nice is fake. Nice is putting on a front to please a woman, is acting in a disingenuous way when you're a nice guy. Now, what you should be is a good guy. There's a big difference between being a good guy with boundaries, that respects himself, that doesn't tolerate BS, and a nice guy who's just okay, nodding along. Yeah, I also love Harry Styles. I also love Love Island. Yeah. Mr. Just nod along because she likes those things. So if I say I like them, she'll like me more. Fake, over the top, corny, desperate for some play. That's what it is. You're desperate for some play, and so you agree with everything, thinking that, yeah, she'll like me for that. And she may be like, oh, really? Whatever. But then she'll start to question you on things. And if she notices you don't have your own opinion, or you're scared of voicing your own opinion, it's funny because like the Andrew Tate saga, right? When Andrew Tate started to become mainstream and women were asking their men about, what do you think of Andrew Tate? And a lot of guys who did like him were saying, no, I hate the guy, because they were afraid of their woman's reaction. Now, I don't believe you should love or hate anybody entirely. My philosophy on this matter is there are things that Andrew has said that I absolutely fuck with, that I agree with, that I think is a good message. And then there are things that perhaps I wouldn't have worded the same way. And then there are things that I wouldn't have said whatsoever. Right? But I'm allowed to say that, you know what? This is right. I agree with this. You don't have to like a person for them to actually share some value. When you use a word like hate, oh, I hate that guy. What do you hate? Be more specific. When you're engaging in a debate, a conversation with somebody, you must be able to give people credit, even if you don't like them as a person, or you don't agree with their approach to life. But for you to say, I hate him, it's a stupid argument. What do you hate? Be more specific. But if you're terrified because my lady might leave me if I have an opinion about this, then what kind of a relationship are you on where you're held hostage by the fear of her leaving you? Voice your opinions. She asks you what you think about Trump. Let her know what you think about Trump and be honest. Don't be, I hate him because, she doesn't like him. So you just say you don't like him or you hate him because that's what she would want to hear. No, let her know. Honey, in terms of X, Y, Z, I believe Trump is excellent at this. But then this, on the other hand, I don't know what he's doing with that. That's just completely off. His stance on this is completely off. Have an opinion and don't be afraid of voicing it. Don't just be like, oh no, I hate him, honey. Have a fucking backbone. And then number 8, the last weak behavior that men do that repels women is when they're afraid of walking away. This ties into what I was just saying earlier about, your fear of conflict keeps you basically a little compliant boy who nods along and is afraid. But you got to remember this. If she doesn't believe that you will walk away when she disrespects you, she will just continue to disrespect you. And the disrespect will just magnify. It will get bigger and bigger. And I've seen situations before where the disrespect is humiliating. I've seen couples in public where a woman's just shouting at her man, swearing at him. And I know myself that wasn't the first time she did that. This was an accumulation of loads of arguments where he just nodded along like a little bitch and he didn't stand up for himself. And so now the disrespect has just gotten to the point where she feels very comfortable disrespecting him publicly. And he's like, oh, pathetic. Even in the early stages, Dharma, when you're dating a woman, if she doesn't know that you'll walk away when she does something gravely disrespectful, she will continue to do that. Corey Wayne has a quote, the strongest negotiating position is the ability to walk away and mean it. You don't like something, you walk away. And I mean like something very disrespectful. I don't mean, well, yeah, she has a different opinion on a certain political matter or she likes a different show to you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when she does something extremely disrespectful. You've voiced your opinion about that. You've checked her for that. And then she either disagrees with your opinion or she does it again another time. You got to walk away. You got to walk away because some women believe that every man that she disrespects will just stay. Some have never dealt with a guy that walks away. So when eventually when they're with a man that just leaves, they're completely bamboozled by it. Like, what? This has never happened to me. This man just left, just like that. And it leaves them confused. But it also increases their respect for the man as well, because they know he'll leave. He's very comfortable being alone. He will not stay in a situation where he's humiliated. He will leave. His own peace matters more to him than a little bit of play. And especially the prettier the woman is, the more confused she is, because men worship women who are very beautiful. And a lot of these women have never dealt with a man that's like, you know what, your beauty doesn't mean anything to me. If this is how you're going to treat me, you're ugly to me. I don't care about your external beauty. If you're very disrespectful, you're ugly in my eyes, and I don't want to be with you. Okay? So hopefully this has helped you, gentlemen. If it has, let me know what you think down below. For more tips just like this, I have a community on School called the Top 3%, where I talk about relationships, how to be the strongest possible man that you can be, how to lead your woman, how to ensure that you maintain attraction in a relationship. If you want to join a community, click on the link down in the description below. And when you do join, you have a free 30-minute coaching call with me. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Take care.